Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the Change Management Town Hall, where we will talk about change initiatives at CSUSB and CSU. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to learn about all the changes that are happening at our campus level and at CSU system level to make our institutions nimble, cost-effective, and relevant to our students, faculty, and staff. We thank PDC team. We welcome the PDC team who's joining us on Zoom this morning. We have a great program planned for you. First, it's my privilege to invite our president, Dr. Tomas Morales, to provide welcome remarks.
Thank you, Sam. And let me start by also wishing everyone a good morning and thank you for being here. I really want to express my deep appreciation to both Sam and Robin and actually the entire cabinet for their commitment to keeping the CSUSB employee community informed of what are all the changes that are occurring in the CSU system. This is, I think, the first of many conversations, and you've heard phases like systemness. You have seen the rollout of Chris. You've seen or have heard perhaps discussions about regionalization within the CSU. We've seen a merger between Maritime and SLO, and we've seen a shared administrative structure, or the unveiling of an administrative structure with Sonoma, East Bay, and San Francisco State. So that's just a few of the changes that are occurring in the system. So I'm pleased and to welcome you to our very first Change Management Town Hall, and I appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Your presence, because you could be in your office instead of being here, and I certainly want to welcome our PDC colleagues, but your presence speaks to your commitment, not only to CSUSB, but to one another, because the changes will impact all of us, and to the future of our university, the future not only of CSUSB, but the future of the entire California State University system. As part of the California State University system, we are experiencing a period of meaningful change, as I just mentioned. These include a multi-university collaboration initiative across the CSU, as well as campus-driven initiatives that are shaping how we operate, support our students, and carry out our work. While these efforts are intended to strengthen our system and our campus, I know that change can also bring a degree of uncertainty, questions, and concerns. That is exactly why today is so important. This town hall is really designed to provide clarity, context, and connection. You will hear directly from CSU leaders about what is changing and why, and you will have the opportunities to engage in the smaller breakout discussions with campus subject matter experts. These conversations are essential. They allow us to listen, to learn from one another, and to better understand how these initiatives may affect your daily work and our shared vision. I want to be clear, your voices matter. Change is most successful when it is guided by open communication, mutual respect, and a genuine commitment to shared governance and collaboration. Today is just not about sharing information, it is about dialogue. And I'm grateful to our colleagues from the Chancellor's Office and our campus teams who are helping guide these conversations. Most of all, I'm grateful to you for your level of professionalism, your dedication, your willingness to engage thoughtfully during times of transition. Together, we will continue to move CSUSB forward with intention, transparency, and care for our people and our mission. Again, thank you for being here. I hope today's discussions are informative, productive, and empowering. Welcome.
Oh, so quiet. What's wrong? Well, happy 2026. How are you? I said that and somebody said, are we still saying it? I'm like, is it still 2026? Like, okay, some people. Well, good morning. So I'm Robin Phillips, VP of HR, and happy to be here with you today. Um, I want to begin by expressing my appreciation to President Morales, Sam, the President's Cabinet, and our colleagues and our campus partners for their leadership and collaboration in convening this important conversation about change. Many organizations just overlook this opportunity that we're giving all of you today. So I am grateful to work for an organization that takes the time and invests the time in us. I also want to say that there's a lot involved in how we all manage change that has nothing to do with this job, right? We have to deal with change every day. You know, what's happening with our children. Many of us have elderly parents that we're now the caretaker for. You know, when somebody on my team got up and couldn't get out there to the garage the other day, right? There's all types of pressures that we have to deal with that determine how we manage change when we're in the workplace. Well, you always hear about the different generations in the workplace, right? We've all heard about these differences, but they are important because when you were born determines sort of what are some of the norms, you know, how you look at things. So I thought I would just pull up and ask our friend Chat, you know, about how these different generations manage change. And so I started with, and I won't, you know, you don't have to raise your hands, but, you know, if you were born between 1946 and 1964, you are identified as a baby boomer. I kind of like that, like boomers, right? Well, how they manage change is mixed feelings, but they're open to improvement but weary, right? They prefer consensus before moving forward. And how they manage, that's how they see change. How they manage is they engage in discussions, meetings, and collaboration. And then some of the things that you want to look out for is involve them early, solicit input, and highlight long-term benefits. I'm sure we're going to hear more about that. But if you fall in that category, let me know if you think that's accurate or not. Because I'm gonna go back and let Chat know he missed it, okay? So I told I'd follow back up when I get done. The next one is Generation X, which is 1965 to 1980. That's mine. That group sees period. See how they see, you see, okay. All right. They are pragmatic and adaptable. Right? And there's reasons why that is. We've been through all the things, right? Less emotionally attached to how things have always been. They manage change by they're comfortable learning new systems if they improve productivity. And the workplace tip for that group is explain what's in it for them. That's not really being selfish. We're just saying, why are you asking me to do this? Okay. So then give flexibility and avoid micromanaging. If you're in that group, let me know if you think that's accurate. And then our next group is millennials, or Gen Y. Generally positive and optimistic about change, right? Woo woo, you're positive, okay. View change as an opportunity for growth and learning. Seek feedback, coaching, and transparency. Let's talk about what transparency is and is not, but we'll do that for another day. Okay, workplace tip, communicate the why, provide learning opportunities, and encourage participation. And last is Z, which is from 1997 to 2012. And in that group, assume change is constant, right? Expect organizations to evolve quickly. Expect real-time communication and responsiveness, and use clear, frequent communication and leverage technology-driven solutions, right? So the reason I shared that is because we are all different, right? And depending on when you were born, you may lap over both of those categories that you may fall into. And so those things are different. And as we go through this, I want you to know that we recognize that the way you need to learn and how you will receive change and how we deliver that to you will need to vary based on your unique needs. So it's very important that you share your opinions, and when you have opportunities to provide feedback, that you do. I also want to encourage you to utilize the Staff Enrichment Center. Who's utilized the Staff Enrichment Center so far? Have you been over there? You haven't been over there, all of you? Who has not? Who has not? So the Staff Enrichment Center is this wonderful opportunity. You see those announcements that come out. Those are based on the feedback that we get from each of you. So if you have not seen something that you feel like, if it doesn't resonate with you, that's because you haven't shared what you need. So please share what you need. I don't know if Annalisa is here. There she go. Share what you need with Annalisa and the team, because that center is for you. It's about making sure that each of you have what you need because of the work you do to serve our students, okay? So now I'll get back to my official notes. So today's change in this opportunity is for us as a campus community to gain clarity and shared understanding around change taking place across the CSU system, including things like the multi-university collaboration initiatives and other things that you'll hear more about. Also, the many, many changes that's taking place right here at CSUSB. These changes are complex and they touch the way we work, collaborate, and serve our students. They also determine the future of our institution and how we line up with our competition. As we navigate this evolving landscape, transparency and communication and engagements are essential. This forum is intentionally designed not only to share information, but to create space for dialogue, where questions are welcome and perspectives are heard and concerns can be thoughtfully addressed. Your participation today matters. Your insight, feedback, conversations emerge will help inform how we move forward together and the way we align our values, responsiveness, and our community needs and focus on long-term sustainability and success. Thank you for your time, your openness, and your continued commitment to CSUSB. I look forward to discussions ahead and to shared work of navigating change together. Thank you. So I would like to introduce from the Chancellor's office, their office change management team. I think it's one of the benefits, many benefits that we have in working in a system as large as ours with 22 campuses in the Chancellor's office, is that you're never alone. There's always somewhere you can reach out and get support and help. And so, we have with us today Jamie Chan and Audrey Shaw from the Chancellor's office. Welcome.
Yeah, okay. All right. How we are feeling today? Good? Robin, I love your energy. Thank you for bringing that. My name is Jamie, and I'm here to kind of guide you guys through change. But first off, I'm really glad you guys are here. I want to take a moment to just do a quick exercise. Let's dive into the session. Let's plan to take a deep breath. Can we do that? Take one on a count of three. Take a deep breath in. 1, 2, 3. Now exhale slowly. See, that was simple. You know what you just did? That's like the most underrated change tool you have in your arsenal. That's your superpower. That's your pause. That's when you navigate the difficult stuff. Because change is not hard. It's not hard. It's not because we cannot learn. Change is hard because it arrives without a pause. So recognize that when you have that superpower, you can throw on your super cape and pause at any moment. Quick show of hands, just a quick show of hands. Who has ever opened an email and immediately you're looking at the email title update to some project and you quickly open the email and you're scrolling to the bottom, right? You're not really reading it. I'm going to address this. Not reading it because what you're finding you're doing is you're trying to be efficient. We are not dramatic. We're just trying to be efficient. So now the most universal change, I wanted to kind of step back and talk about a story, and we're all keen on this. You're going to bed, Apple says, time for a phone update. You're conducting the update, and next thing you know, you're trying to find the buttons, you're trying to navigate, you're pushing your cell phone. And that's change management at work. You're trying to figure out how distracted you are because the things that were there are no longer there. Now that's change. And without knowing it, you guys are all holding that change management card. You're doing it every day without even knowing it. You're navigating change, you're leading change. And one other thing I have to bring to attention is, and it's recent, I went to Trader Joe's. I think those guys, they're great. I love Trader Joe. They have nothing better to do than shuffle where my blueberries should be, right? You go in, you're like, okay, it's here, but they move it. I'm in Palos Verdes, so they move it to the other side of the store. And then the next couple of weeks, they moved it back. I'm like, what is going on? So blueberries was a scavenger hunt. And that alone has changed. You know why change happens the way they do? Because it sets us at a level of confusion. So what's clear is that once you gain clarity, change is not so hard. Think about that. Once you alleviate and that confusion piece, change makes it manageable. My job here today for a good takeaway is how do we make work doable? The human side of change is important, is how we coach each other through. And I love what Dr. President Morales says, clarity, context, and connection. And I'm hoping by today, I have to create a slide, so I should probably, Joe, can you? Yeah, okay, there I am, and Audrey. And I don't mean for Audrey to stand here, but she is my partner in crime, so we're not sure where she should be. So maybe, Audrey, if you want to take a seat here. Okay, you want to go back? Okay. She's going back. Audrey's going back. Okay, you just keep in mind one thing. You do not feel resistant with change. You feel inconvenience. There is a difference. People do not resist change because they are difficult. People resist the confusion, overload, and the late surprises. At the CSU, change is not occasional. We know it's coming down. Change is constant. And what we have heard is clear. The volume is high, the pace is fast. Communication can arrive late, and people do not always get a chance to weigh in on change early. So today is not a hype session. It is a confidence session. We are going to make change doable, clear, and supported. Before we go further, I want to sorry, Joe, next slide. We didn't rehearse. Joe and I, we didn't do this dry run. So if me pointing, maybe Joe. Okay, perfect. So yeah, we laugh about the phones and the grocery aisles, but that point is the point. Change lands in the middle of work. Okay. Here is what you will leave with today. Clarity on what is changing and what stays. Less guesswork, less guessing. I will hopefully equip you guys with a simple playbook for receiving and leading, or I call quarterbacking change, because most of us, without knowing, we're doing both. And a clear support path for when you get stuck, so that uncomfortable friction does not turn into stress. Okay. And one question I want you to borrow and use everywhere today, think about this. What would make this change? What would make it 20% easier? If we cannot answer that, we are not designing change. We are just delivering it. So once again, keep that in mind throughout the stack. What would make change 20% easier? Okay, now let's name the reality in the room. Change right now. Not theory, real life, right? Look at these words. And I just recently, Chancellor's Office had a little professional development of how you harness stress and bring to your homeostasis of equilibrium. I don't have the credentials to be a psychologist, but I do know that these words mean something when you read them. It's on the screen. It moves through your body. So let's talk through it. Who feels tired? Right? I feel tired. Overloaded. And we all know January, we all love the CSU because we afforded ourselves a winter break so we can regroup, recalibrate with family. But when you come back, oh, does it land hard, right? Stretch. I'm probably going to keep my hands up, but it's intimidating, but it's true. Wanting clarity, right? I'm at the Chancellor's office, full transparency. I still need clarity up there because we have so many influx of changes. It's difficult to figure out what you should and how you should prioritize. And skeptical. Anyone feeling like, and I'm sorry, Dr. Morales, but sometimes we feel like leadership should know the answer, but they barely come to bat sometimes because they're still adjusting the change sales. So not all the time are we equipped to hear from a leader at the timely basis we need because they are human. So change occurs throughout, whether you're a leader, whether you're just navigating change on your own, or doing a little of both. And who's determined and proud? I mean, after all that's said and done, right? We go down, but we lift ourselves higher. I'm not trying to make this a motivational speech, but if we end up with that, then I think Dr. Morales will invite me back here with my colleague, Audrey Shaw, who's somewhere in the room again. Okay, so I want to add one more to that deck that you see because it's honest. Some days it is really not about change. It's not about change that gets you. It's the stacking of things you need to do. Now, quick show of hands. How many of you been in a meeting? You're listening to your leaders, you're listening to your team lead, you're listening to your project manager, and he goes, yes, I can support this. Then somewhere along the line, that yes becomes, where does this fit in what I need to do, how I need to show up, right? Because everything that requires change requires someone to make the work of change come alive. So that exactly, this is the room. And here's the other truth. We are not all starting at the same place with change. Some of you track change closely because it hits your work harder. It hits you directly. It hits your work every day. Now, some of you hear about changes when they land, not because you do not care, but because you're busy doing your work. Now, some of you are ready and curious, but you simply want to know the why without all that, and the how without all that extra noise. All three are valid. And today I'm going to build a deck for you to address all three. So here's what we are going to do next. We are going to name what is real. We're going to reduce that uncertainty so we can get to clarity. We're going to make support visible. Okay. And I was talking to Sam. Sam, we go back 2 weeks. But what I do realize is when you make support visible, you feel connected. And nothing like being connected. We're in the biggest ecosystem of college higher ed, and we're not taking advantage of that. We should leverage each other's strengths and collaboration. So today is one of our opportunities to connect and collaborate. And we're going to leave with at least one way to make change 20% easier. Now, because if we cannot make it easier, guess what happened? We're not managing change. Remember that. We're just announcing change. Now, let's make it concrete. And what is changing? What's saying? I love that. I feel like I have so much power, Joe. Thank you. See, you see it on the left. I just realized I can look there. I don't need to tweak my head. We have all these changes coming your way. Some of the changes that you may hear about, my buddy Chris Bradney will start announcing those type of changes later on for the breakout session. But what I want to know is they may sound like a password. They may sound like all these projects that you haven't heard of, but at the end of the day, I'm hoping that you can connect with or ask questions that these changes are coming your way. Now, this is visibility. Me just putting all the projects there. Some of it may not make sense, but what you know is that you don't have to guess. You will see several efforts, some visible, some behind the scenes. And yes, all this is happening in the context of limited capacity. We're in a climate of doing more with less, but I want to shift that narrative and exactly what that means to you today. But here's what stays steady. So these on the right-hand side, gosh, my vision's pretty bad, but stability matters. So what you see on the right-hand side is your non-negotiables. Kind of like in dating, right? You're like thinking, okay, sorry, all the single person in the house, when you're dating, you're like, what my therapist told me, you need to go in there knowing what your non-negotiables are. So you're not just like, okay, I'll take that person, right? So you need to go and learn that these are key things to make you successful in coming to the table. So, because here's what stays steady. Stability matters. How we service our student mission matters. How we service matters. That remains our why. Now, respect for partnership, that matters. And shared expertise shape the how. Questions? One thing I always ask my kids, I've got 3 of them and 2 dogs and a partridge and a pear tree, but a lot of responsibility. But what comes out of it is you want to create a culture, normative behavior of saying it's okay to ask questions. And in change management, we always say ask questions early, often, and throughout. Bring communications early, often, and throughout. That's our only weapon besides that pause, that superpower I told you about. It'll come in handy. So we welcome questions. Create a culture that your staff can come to you anytime to ask questions. I mean, granted, we have those staff members that ask questions like, I just said that 5 minutes ago. Why are you asking that? But it's okay. You want to create a safe space, like in a relationship, right? And I don't mean to keep bringing that up, but human connection is about building rapport and relationship. If you're communicating, you want to be in the receiving end feeling safe, and on the giving end, being respectful. And those are the 2 attributes we have to continually honor, even in change management. So here's the key shift. We are changing, and when we ask for input, that's part of change. Not after decisions are baked, much earlier. So timing, sequencing, and support can still be influenced, just know that, but keep communication open is important. If something would change your workflow, we want to hear about it. We want to hear, and we want your contribution and how that would adjust your path, not after you have already absorbed the impact. So let's pause and hear from you directly. What is, a presentation without a QR code? So next slide, please, Joe. Okay, my buddy Chris had built this little nice QR code. So if those had brought your handy dandy distractor and your life is on a phone, take a snapshot of that, or call it scan that QR code for a minute, or it should be a second there. This should just take 2 minutes of your time. Okay. This is the one change today that will not require training. While you're getting it open, I just want a quick pulse check of the room and how you're feeling today, okay? Show of hands in person, and those on Zoom. I'm not ignoring you. I just can't see you, but your voice matter. Give me a thumbs up reaction if that is how you're feeling. So think about compared to last year. I know this year is January. We're almost towards the end, but when you're feeling and you're coming back to the office, you're hearing about all these changes, right? So change volume makes a difference. It makes you feel more or it makes you feel less. But all those feel like change have been most difficult this year, the volume of change, or do you feel like it's about the same? Okay. I feel like because the climate we're in, I feel like there's always changes that occur and we're still doing the changes. But the important thing is I'll teach you some mechanism to kind of process those changes. Okay, so the second pulse, I want to make sure you guys know that we're all receivers of change and we all navigate change, but most importantly, we're quarterbacking our own changes. So for change to happen, you also have to lead change because you're also part of that conversation. You're not just navigating, but you're leading change. So remember that. Okay, now thank you. I hope that you have an opportunity. So the first question is, what would make this change feel 20% easier? So if you lock in your answer, I don't have any song track to go with that. Give you a couple seconds to lock in that answer. That should take you to a smart sheet for you to put your answer down. And the second one is, my job here is to collect data, right? We're data analysts at heart. And I want to make sure that your feedback is valuable to leadership here at the CSU. So what do you want most from leadership during change? And you can put it in a one word or one phrase. And those on Zoom, you can participate by scanning this QR code or just put it in Slack. Put it in the chat, but I probably can't see it. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. This is not just a checkbox. It really is for us to kind of start becoming a scoreboard. And we'll hopefully accumulate this data and then somehow present it back to the team. Now let's see the season we're in and what we are committed to do, Joe. Thank you. I like our partnership, Joe. See, we're already building trust, so thank you for that. So this season, this is a slide to just kind of build a little bit more empathy lens of what you guys are navigating. Okay, we're naming the season we're in. Change is real. And I know you guys can read. So one of the main points about a presentation, you're not supposed to read off the slide. So, but what I want you guys to realize that the change is not slowing down. If you are feeling stretched lately, this is not a personal failure. This is just the weather. We're doing more with less. So, kind of pat yourself in the back. You guys are showing up, you're doing the work, and it's our job as leaders and navigators to understand what that work means and how to make that work doable. People do not resist change because they are stubborn. People resist exhaustion. People resist uncertainty, right? Going back to that climate, when you can make things clear, it's less scary. Exhaustion from stacked priorities and constant context switching. It happens at the chancellor's office for me. I be managing with my team. Each of us have a plethora of projects, 5 to 15. And then something else from academic student affairs. This is very important from the chancellor. You got to get this in. So, it's a difficult climate. I just want to empathize with every one of us here in the room. Uncertainty from late information, unclear impact, and not knowing where to go for help. We're going to try to resolve those issues today, at least coaching-wise. And I will say the quiet part out loud. When people are already at capacity, even a good change will feel taxing. So in this season, we are not trying to motivate people harder because you guys are doing your job just fine, but we are designing change better. So once you learn what change and how you can be in the driver's seat with change, you're that much more ahead than the person that doesn't recognize that. That is why we make 3 commitments here, simple, practical. It's easy to remember. So, you can go back and go, you know what, I went to that town hall. It was amazing because the takeaway is 3 things if you can't take away anything else. Commitment 1, make room. Make room for change. Okay. It's kind of common sense, but sometimes you have to say it out loud, put it on a deck, and people can listen to it. Before we add new things, right? What do we need to do? We need to reduce the pylon. We need to call out what the collisions are early. We need to make trade-offs visible. If we're adding change, ask yourself, ask your leaders, what are we removing, delaying, reprioritizing, or simplifying so that work is doable? And that's, once again, I'm going back to a relationship. That's boundaries. You know, I joke about one of my colleagues at work. We were navigating so many changes that he's like, wow, this year I went to bed and I realized I woke up 2026. It's going to be a year of knowing how to say no. I'm not saying, Dr. Morales, oh my gosh, Jamie, don't tell my staff to say no, but you have the right to just build that rapport and that open, collaborative communication. Change is fine, but change needs to be part of the doable work. So make room for change. Second thing, commitment number 2, show the path. What do I mean by that? You'll hear about changes early, and you have to give changes early, communicate changes early in plain language. Not just what is changing, but why do the change matter? And what it means for you, your role, that should be made plainly clear. If you cannot answer what is changing, when it lands, who it impacts, and what to do, then the message is not ready. So you need to have all that in place before you can communicate and announce change. And commitment number 3, support the work. And this does not just go for the people navigating the work, it especially go for all of us doing both, quarterbacking the change. We need to support the work. Provide training, provide communication, provide job aids for the moments you do not have time to guess. Make office hours accessible so real questions can be answered and asked. Make a clear escalation path so blockers do not turn into stress. Now, when you hit friction, you know exactly where to go and how fast you will get to get an answer. So support the work is the easiest thing you can do, is make a support path so your staff knows how and when they can ask the questions. And here's the anchor. And I worked with Heather on this and Ro, I don't know if you're in the room, but modernization, I want to say this out loud, I just lost my place or so. Modernization that burns people out is not progress. And I know the changes that come our way, it's all about modernizing, right? Making it easier for our student to apply for financial aid. I work on the Illusion project, making easier for people, staff, as well as students and faculty to onboard. Everything requires modernization, but at the sake of modernization, you can't just modernize without caring for the people that do the work. Now the playbook. But because, okay, well, I'll leave that to the end. Joe, I'm ready for the next one, please. Okay, I just want to remind everyone that we're doing change every day already. Going back to doing both. So this is the CLARE playbook. My staff knows I love acronym, so I came up with this just so you guys could be saying, yeah, our campus was the first that we talked about the CLARE methodology, but this one, it works for both folks, everyday folks navigating change, as well as, little do you know it, you're all leaders and quarterbacking change. So this CLARE playbook addresses both. And here's the truth. We don't just call this change management, okay? Every time you translate and update, and I like to go back to Robin, she hit it on the nose. We are all managing so many changes. We're at if you're at Generation X, that is me, you're gonna be navigating, caring for your folks or your elderly, and then you have your youth coming up for just life and college. So you're navigating those changes, and those are real, right? So every time you're helping them out. You're helping your children. You're helping your folks. You're helping your neighbor. You're reducing confusion. You're setting your team. However, you're already leading change. So today, this playbook is one playbook, one shared language. It is clear, CLEAR, and I don't need to read it, but I could, and I will. But they operate for both sides of change, receivers and quarterbacks. So when you're navigating change, or we call it the receivers, the context is what is changing for me. So ask yourself, what is changing for me? And the listening, the L word. What questions do I have? What do I need clarified? Now, these are your weapons. So if you're not understanding how to navigate change, ask the questions. So from the quarterback in the leadership end, the listening is take a proactive measure and ask early. Ask your staff. Make it clear. Hear their friction before it becomes stress. Okay? And remember, even as a quarterback, the context is the same. You want to know what that change is, why now, who is impacted. I'm going to do both to save time. The enablement is for navigators of change. Where do I go for help? For the quarterbacks, like providing access for support, providing access so people can do their job, providing access so work could be doable. And then A for adoption. When you're navigating change, test it out. As a change navigator, test it out, see what works, communicate when it doesn't. And as quarterbacks of this CLEAR method, you want to remove friction early, and you want to reinforce the new way. And then R is recognition. Simply put, what worked, what didn't, what makes it 20% easier. And recognizing that, and recognizing your staff for doing good quality work. So that's the CLEAR method. It's how we protect capacity and the people doing the work and making the work doable. Now let's make it and introduce our panel. So this panel session is, I'm going to shift from me talking at you to learning from each other and talking with each other. This panel is about real work, real moments, what actually helps when change is showing up fast. Okay, so there'll be 4 questions, Joe. So these are the 4 questions, and let's start. Well, before I do that, as you listen to our panelists, who I'll introduce in a second here, I want you to try this out, this idea. This week, well, maybe on Monday or this weekend. I forget it's Friday. Happy Friday, by the way. Think about one thing you want to try this week and one obstacle that you should remove. Okay, notice that, feel that. Let's start with emotion, because emotion is always present in change. So that obstacle that you choose to remove, that's how we do change with people. Okay. I'm pleased to welcome our panel, and I'm going to do a quick introduction. At bat, and I practice his name, so Antonio, don't kill me, but I think it's Antonio Guijarro Ledesma. Please come on stage. He's the financial and strategic analyst for the Jack H. Brown College of Business and Public Administration. And then we have Heather Hopkins, operations manager for finance, technology, and operations here at your very own San Bernardino campus. And she is also a 2-time alumni, leading through sustained overlapping change while keeping operations steady. And then my partner in crime, Audrey Shaw, that I kicked to the curb. She's coming back on stage. Give a warm welcome to Audrey. And we didn't even commute together. We were wasting gas. She's coming very south of you, and I'm coming somewhere else. Audrey is our IT project and change manager. She manages a lot of the organizational change management as well as complex project initiatives system-wide. So thanks, Audrey, for being here. And our very own, or your very own, she's been here longer than I have been. Audrey and I combined to be at the CSU. Ro, as you know her, but Rowena Cassis Wedel W. I don't want. I was rehearsing. I promise, Ro. She's a director of leadership development, and she's focused on leadership behaviors that build trust. Thank you all for being here, and I will try to keep us on task and start peppering you guys with questions. So I should come over there and join you guys. Hold on. Oh, wow. That's great. And I grew up in the era, microphone on. Sorry. I think I'm pretty loud. I might not need this, but you know, the Phil Donahue. Okay. Should I turn the other one off first? All right. I grew up with Phil Donahue. I know it's for some of you, I mean, it's stating how old I am, but you know, I always wanted to do this. For those, I get it. Okay. I was telling Audrey when we were rehearsing we were place holding the chairs. I just don't feel right when you guys can see my legs so readily available here. But so we're gonna shift into questions, and you guys see the questions on the board. We actually, Lee, will just make it simple, and I'm gonna start with Audrey. So Audrey, and this actually, yeah, you can. Oh, that's right. You guys are sharing a microphone. We can't phone a friend, so this will be all on you, Audrey. These questions really help us kind of navigate how we're feeling when we're dealing with change and how we can equip ourselves to understand the narrative. With the first question is about emotions. So emotion is always part and present in change. Audrey, in your best answer, what emotion is showing up most right now, and what helps in that moment when you're navigating change?
I think I know for myself, there are so much changes happening and it feels like it's a piling onto you. And so when in that regard, I feel like I just want to curl into a ball and hide under a blanket. But what I think that helps is really understanding or working with your leaders and understanding what are my manageable pieces so that I can make progress week by week. It's not about what I can do and trying to tackle everything right now just to fix it all. But if I can just manage my time, manage the expectations of what I can get done now, what needs to be put on hold, and really having that partnership with your peers and your leaders, I think that helps me the most.
Oh, thank you for that. And I wanted to sneak in a follow-up question. Like when you're thinking about that, what is the first sentence you wish leaders would say when your emotion is everywhere and present?
I think it's just being able to listen, active listening, right? We all just want to be heard, and so if we feel heard, we know that we're someone really is caring about us in that empathetic lens and truly helping us be our best at work.
Thank you. And this is a perfect scenario to talk about relationship as well. When you're feeling safe, validated, heard, you're that much more easier to present that trust factor. And when you have trust is when you can not just actively listen, but you truly engage and you truly collaborate and you truly want to build something better. Thank you, Audrey. And I'm going to turn it to Antonio with his staff lens. And Antonio gave me a quick bio, but this guy's been everywhere and we're happy to have him here. So Antonio, like what is showing up for you and how does that help you keep moving?
Yeah, so I kind of play that middle ground as being the leader, but also the staff person so I'm the college analyst for Jack H. Brown. And so in my position, I kind of receive the change that's coming from the top down, but also help explain that change that's happening and why it's happening. So a lot of times I'm the one having to connect with, Jay Woods, Amber Schneck, and trying to help understand the change and processes. So a lot of times what I'm seeing now is frustration, confusion. And so, I'm having to work that playing field as to just helping clarify things. So I want to become that expert in that task at hand, the procedural change, and to see how it's impacting the staff's work. So that way I can go back and disseminate that information to my staff. And, it could be in group settings, one-on-one settings, but I like to have that open door, policy. And so any one of my staff members can always come and reach out to me whenever they have questions. I know I've gotten a couple requests regarding the whole P2P thing. So, Jay, Amber, I'll be following up with you all soon. So, but that's what I'm seeing right now.
As a follow-up, Antonio, how do you feel, what do you need most in terms of earlier signal or clear map from your leaders if you find yourself combating some of the staff tough feedback on change?
Yeah, I think having that support from upper management, so cabinet members, chairs, deans, as to why change is happening, having that clarity will help me clarify things for the staff support. So if we have clear guidelines, procedures, understanding as to why things are happening, whether it's state legislature, something coming down from the chancellor's office, I think that'll help kind of open up that dialogue with the staff so that they can better understand why this is happening. And it's not something that, President Morales just wants this change and it has to happen. But understanding the why behind it, I think helps kind of put the staff at ease and understand that whole change.
And this leads to the next question. It's very similar in how we access those emotions, and then we're learning and leaning towards support. I'm going to turn to Heather now. What does real support look like when your time is tight? What support helps you?
I think for me, real support looks like clarity, trust, that human connection, building rapport, knowing who you can reach out to. From an operations standpoint, it looks like removing barriers, open communication, reaching out to each other, supporting each other. I think sometimes we're so overwhelmed with the change that's coming that we forget that the human aspect. So really communicating and connecting with each other on the human level.
Thank you so much. And Ro, everyone knows you as Ro. That's really cool. It's like Oprah. It's just Ro.
Shall we sing that song, Row, Row, Row Your Boat?
We can. That's a great icebreaker moment. But I think we'll go right into the question, Ro.
Gotcha. I was just throwing you a Phil Donahue kind of
I know.
impromptu.
But then yeah, we'll try it again later.
Okay.
Okay, so you've heard Heather, in your own words, how should leaders support, and what are you looking for in terms of support that does not land? When support does not land, how would you navigate that?
Sure. What Heather said really resonates with me because that's what we need, right? Interesting, this morning, I ran into two colleagues who I normally don't see. And actually one I haven't seen probably in a very long time. And just the fact that we connected, hey, how's it going? And, there was something that's sitting on my desk that I clearly have not had a chance to do, not because I'm ignoring it, but just like you said, the work is being stacked and we have to identify what are priorities. And this lovely colleague, whose name is Claudia, said, Ro, just call me and I will walk you through it. Whatever you need, I know you're not sitting on it. I know you're busy. It's not like you not get things done. And so I really appreciated that. I also want to not really go down a rabbit hole, but kind of go back to the core of your question. And it's what do I want from leadership? And my own vice president has said this a number of times. And I feel like it's really important that our leaderships have our back. Ro, I got your back. And one, it's really good to hear that. And two, it's hey, thanks for recognizing that we have a lot of work ahead of us. More practically, the kind of support that I'd like is, sorry, I'm still dealing with denial. I'm supposed to wear glasses, but I don't. So it's a size 14 font. I should have gone with 18 or 20. But two things that I've really seen, and this is how I'm leading my own team. You know, how many of us say, if you need help, just let me know? Like we all say that, right? I would suggest that if you can take that and tweak it a little bit more, instead of saying, if you need help, call me, why not say something like, if it resonates with you, I have access to run that report for you. Can I do that for you? So that's what we call focused support. So that's what I would like from my leaders. That's what I would like from my team. Instead of saying, hey, let me know, just call me if you need help. Really understand, like, what can you help with? Can you deliver a report? Can you do something for someone else? Can you check that email? And I think that that would help feel that camaraderie, that support, but also kind of minimize like the cursory, hey, how you doing? But if people stop and tell you what they're doing, you really didn't want to stop and make that time. You're like, you just wanted the, I'm fine, Sam, and then keep going, right? Right? So take the time to think about how you can support people during these really tight times. And then just, you know, one of our core values, the K in PAC, is kindness. How can we continue to be kind to one another, especially through these changes?
Yeah, I love that. So what I hear is less piling on and more practical protection. Support is not just intentional, but it's support is trade-offs people can feel, your boss having your back, help that you can reach and access. And I do like that kindness is not weakness. So I'm going to circle back to Antonio. And this is what I call mythbusters, but we all think about change and we have a preconceived notion what those myths about change are. So Antonio, what myth about change should we retire today that's showing up at work?
I think that the perception that if staff have questions or, you know, there's some sort of what seems to the administrator as pushback might not really be just resistance to change, but instead the lack of clarity and understanding as to why things are happening. So their questions might actually be kind of like a cry for help or a call for help to kind of help better understand why it is that it's happening instead of, you know, people are just resistant to change. So I think that's one of the, you know, things that we should probably, you know, as leaders and administrators, we should kind of, you know, understand that it's not really a resistance to change, but instead just wanting to know or understand why it is that, you know, staff are asking these questions just for that clarity purpose.
Right. Thank you for that. Heather, can you build on that?
I think one of the biggest myths with change is that it leads to disruption or loss of something. But in reality, we all deal with change on a day-to-day basis. Not necessarily are we disturbing something or shaking something up. But if we kind of take a look at it, that change is actually leading to us learning something new. And as individuals who work in higher education, we're all lifetime learners. So sometimes that change and that disruption in our life is actually leading us to learning something new. A lot of us have been here for many years, and so change helps kind of us learn as learners and move the university forward, and it helps us help support our students who are learning and navigating change in their own lives.
Thank you for that. I'm going to go back to Audrey. And
Thank you.
okay. Now, this is something we can use because we all know that it takes just 90 days to build a habit. So, Audrey, one habit for the next 90 days that would help the most in navigating change.
I would say probably the easiest thing to implement right away anyways is going back to with your department or your team and kind of creating a living frequently asked questions document. So if you hear the same question twice, you can at least share in that question, write down the answer in a simple way, and share that document so that so your whole department can go to one place to find the answers, and it, will reduce the emails that go around, the misinformation that goes around. It's just something that you guys can work on together as you navigate the change.
Okay, thank you. And Ro, we can start the song right now.
Actually, if I knew you were a Phil Donahue fan, I would have requested, Heather and I would have redone this whole layout. No stage, so you can run up and down the aisles. I remember him doing that as well.
I'm not sure if I can do it in my platform boots here, so, but.
So one habit or one tip. So I couldn't just stick to one, so I have two. Please forgive me. The first one is very similar to how you started off this session, which was taking a deep breath. It's something along those lines. I've noticed that, prior to the break, I've seen a lot of my colleagues going out on breaks, taking walks, and I think that's really healthy. But since we've come from break, now I know it's only a few weeks into the new year, I've realized that when I look out at the campus, I don't see many of you all. Now, granted, I don't always go out as well, but one of the tips that I'm trying to do, that I encourage many of you to do, is to go back to taking your breaks. First of all, if you're nervous about that, in the state of California, you're entitled to take those breaks, okay?
Coming from HR, yes.
Yes. But secondly, for me, sometimes I don't take my breaks, but I'm trying to do it more often, is because for me, I feel like, gosh, I'm taking a break. I'm walking away from the computer and I can't respond to that email, or it's going to delay me, running that report. But actually, studies show that taking a break is actually a refresher. You refresh your mind. For those of you who are willing and able to close your eyes for just a few minutes, believe it or not, it reduces eye strain. And so taking a break is one of those very quick and simple we take for granted, but I encourage everyone to do. And then the second thing, if that's too simple for you, I'll use the word audit, but I hope that Candy doesn't, freak out because I'm using audit in a personal way. But it's like, I would encourage you all, and I'm doing this, I'm 2 weeks into this now, to do a weekly personal audit. And that is for the end of your week, whether the end of your week is a Friday, a Saturday, or a Sunday. And basically, it's so simple. Just think about all the things that happened in that week. And, what did you do well? What didn't go well? And then having that thought process, well, for me personally, makes me validate, was it just a really chaotic week? Was it, what was going on here? And then it helps me plan for the following week. So take your breaks and try a weekly personal audit of things that happened to you during the week.
I love that. And I like to create that normative behavior on breaks as well. I know you guys done this, I accidentally butt out on Zoom. You can actually do that. And I got our CISO, Josh Callahan, and he was out on a walk, but he was almost trepidatious in announcing that he was walking. He goes, I'm going to walk. I'm like, okay, that's great. He goes, as human nature, you start to be defensive, right? I just had back-to-back meetings. I'm like, Josh, it's okay. So the walk is that recalibration where you step away from your desk, step away from the eye strain, connect with nature, feel grounded, take that pause. You can do your work better. So we need to create a culture where it's normative to pause, take that breath, take that walk. So thank you for sharing that. Well, what do you guys think? I think the panelists did great. I wanted more questions, but in lieu of time, I have to kind of wrap them up, not physically, but one thing I want to remind you, the 90-day habits, they do work. A habit is how we turn good intention into how we actually work. So 90 days is long enough to build a habit, becoming our operating system. So before we close, one thing I reminded earlier when you were doing that QR exercise is try to think about one thing you want to try this week is removing one obstacle. so you can do your work better, what that is. So I want to close out with that, but I'm going to get back to the slide. And now you guys sitting here with me is fine. Don't leave, because sitting is better than standing. Not really, but yeah, I want to take us to take this home. Joel, can you help us take it home? Yeah, let's land this and that breath work we did in the beginning. We started with a breath because change rarely give us one. If you think about it, it's us reminding ourselves to take one. So I want to end with a standard you can carry into next week. And share with your team. You know, you can tell your team, God, you guys missed some very great comedic relief. We really want to build this norm that we can talk about it, laugh about it, and instinctively we can be in a room and share about the uncomfortable things. The pace is real. We're going to talk about the pace. Initially, I wanted Heather to kind of lock in on a survey and gather some data points, because we're analysts at heart, and what makes it difficult for you to do your work? What are the pain points? What I've heard throughout, and I think is resident in all the campuses, is you're feeling a different crunch this year. We want to recognize and empathize with those feelings, but the volume is real. There's a lot of changes, and the doing more with less seems to be the climate. But I don't want you guys to go out feeling discouraged. I want you guys to be able to have these arsenal we talked about today. You know, making room for change, showing the path, and building that trust. So here's the standard. In plain language, communicate, stay open, welcome questions, early signal, early, often, and throughout communication, real support, make support an access point for your staff, and leaders make your access accessible. And one last callback. Remember the store moving the aisles, and that's a real story. I don't know. I feel like my Trader Joe's always trying to move things. You know, we're wandering around, and that's not how we want to operate our change. That's not how we do change. If something moves, you want to be able to be informed. You want the signals. You want a map. You want a place to ask a human. So with that, thank you so much for your time, your candor, your energy. The work that you do every day matters, and the mission that we continue to show up for matters. You're non-negotiable. They matter. How we respect each other in a workplace matters, and how we build trust matters. How we stay steady in the work that we do. As leaders, quarterback of change, and as navigators of change, making work doable. Keeping that transparency open and communicate is important. So one last reminder, and then we'll probably, start singing, but you are not just navigating change, you're doing both every day. So with that, I'm going to remind you guys are all qualified change managers in my book, and continue to ask the questions and continue to build the conversation. Thank you so much for having us here today. And can we give a round applause to these amazing panel voices? Okay, all right. I'm not gonna double fist mics, but it's also my proud honor to introduce your very own Chris Bradney. And Chris is the director of your strategic technology initiatives here at your campus. He's responsible for the IT plan, the IT strategic plan, and he's certified in everything except probably brewery, but he's certified project manager, change manager, I assume ProSci certified, and Lean Six Sigma. Also, he has a master's in leadership and organizational studies. And he's nearing his completion for his doctorate in business administration. Please welcome Chris Bradney.
When I switch the picture, I'll take it. I've got a little device here, so I can feel powerful too.
Sorry, can I follow?
Oh yeah, of course.
Which I didn't even drink. Hydration is key.
All right. Well, thank you all for being here. I'm so excited that so many of you showed up in the room. It's a really important conversation for us to have. I'm really going to be taking a moment before we break out into these breakout sessions where we're going to give you an opportunity to ask questions and be in dialogue about some of the changes that our campus is going to experience. Really going to be taking us down into the weeds a little bit. So not too far. We're going to keep it a little high level, but we're going to be talking through several things. If we're going to be talking about the definitions, I think we maybe needed to start with this a little bit earlier on. Some key definitions for us to have a common language around this. We're going to overview 4 different change initiatives that are coming to our campus or have recently come to our campus. We're going to be talking about a new change initiatives website that we just launched and we want to get you plugged into, and then we're going to get into those breakouts. So first, some definitions I really want to work from. First, when we're talking about change initiatives, there's a lot. There's a lot that we talked about. Everybody's doing change all the time. There's so many different changes that you experience. But when we're talking about changes here, we're really talking about people, processes, and behaviors. And I'll be honest, I think this is a safe space for us to enter into this candid conversation. I think we do a better job on the technical side of change, right? We change the system, we change the process. But we really need to and want to focus more on the people and the behaviors. How do we bring the people along the change with us? And then ultimately, right, organization doesn't benefit from a change until the people actually change. So that's what we're here today to talk about. The second thing I really want to take some time to define for us is the multi-university collaboration initiative, a big phrase. Sometimes it's just referred to as multi-U. This is an important new initiative, kind of system-wide, that we're really seeing. And this is really where, from the chancellor on down, we're really seeing more focus in on how does the CSU leverage its superpowers, or that phrase, the systemness, to really drive efficiencies across the system. And so as we go through some of these changes, we'll see certain things that are a part of this multi-university collaboration initiative. But it's really about, we talked about doing more with less. It's about how do we be strategic around how do we work together, right? Not as 23 separate entities, but as one CSU. So it's about moving us forward. You may also see the phrase shared services. So if that comes up too, that's part of kind of this larger movement around the multi-U. And now specifically, there are 3 things, 3 areas of focus within multi-U that I want to highlight. Benefits administration, information security, and procurement. So you'll see some of those coming today. You'll also see some of those things coming in the future around how do we focus in on the changes. Okay, I'm going to get us into the weeds as quick as I can because I know that I'm standing between you and having great conversations and ultimately having lunch. So we're going to be talking about 4 things. And we're going to have, as you probably saw in the room, 4 areas for breakout sessions around these changes. So Concur, CSU Buy, Optimize, and Microsoft Teams Phone. We're going to be focusing on Concur first. Concur is going live April 2026. So you look at your calendar, that's less than 3 months away now. So I think this is something that is going to require some pretty near-term attention from you about how to make this change successful. So Concur, what is it? Concur is a part of the multi-U program, right? It's about how do we take Concur, our travel and expense management platform, and not do it 22 different times for 22 different campuses, but how do we have a single, simple, central, optimized system? So it's really about driving data accuracy. It's about strengthening those internal controls that we have. It's about financial transparency, all right, in this system, as well as reducing a lot of those manual processes. It is also about expanding, enhancing, and standardizing the process across the CSU so there's not different business practices happening at different campuses. So it is that unified approach. And hopefully, right, we'll talk about Optimize a little bit later on, but it's also part of this more integrated network of systems that are going to be supporting each other. So it does integrate with Optimize for consistent policy enforcement, audit readiness, and better reporting capabilities. It is also important to note it does integrate with PeopleSoft as well. So, right, this is not a system that's on the fringe, but this is really core to part of the CSU's infrastructure and ecosystem. So why? This is something I was briefly looking through some of the responses you all sent to that QR code. I think we had over 100 responses from folks already. Thank you for all that feedback. This is something we heard a lot in, I was browsing through about why. Tell us why this change, why? So we're going to be answering that for each of these change initiatives. Why this change? So Concur, the system-wide Concur initiative, really represents an advancement in these systems and how we manage travel and expense. So a couple things that our campus is going to be specifically benefiting from is that full integrated system, right? It's not an isolated fringe system that we have that's not connected to everything else. It is integrated across the CSU. It enhances our financial government, improves reporting. I've said these things already. But implementation is also going to be reducing administrative inefficiencies. I don't know about you, but I get like heartburn anytime there's an inefficiency in a system. I'm like, oh, why are we doing it that way? There's got to be a better way. This is part of doing that. It's part of also improving our compliance for campus. How do we standardize that work and make sure that we are, fully in compliance with the policies there? It also provides leadership with better reliability, timely financial data, and ultimately, right, the ability to make good decisions with that, around funding and expense. Couple things to think about what's next. For Concur, so we're really preparing right now for that April 2026 go live. So it's around the corner. Things that are in process. This is one of those, like I said, multi-U projects. This is being done in coordination with the Chancellor's office. So we really appreciate their partnership in all of that. But right now, it's in system configuration and integration, making sure that aligns with current CSUSB business practices and processes. So it's not something, totally different for us. Right, testing and data validation are going to be coming up. And ultimately, again, this is something I heard a lot from those responses is around training and communication. This is really going to be ramping up in these next 3 months as we get ready for that April 2026 go live. And then post go live, right, we'll have that support in place to make sure that you have the office hours and the communications and the FAQs and the things that you need to be successful using the new Concur system. So these details about all that are still coming together, but we're really excited for what Concur is going to mean for our campus. If you are interested in Concur, we'll have a map showing you where in the room, but I think they're going to be over in that corner to have conversations around Concur. CSU BY, this is maybe the big one that we want to talk about because February 2nd, we have a hard date on this one. This is immediately in our future. CSU BY also suffers from having the most also known as names. So CSU BY, you may know it also as procure to pay. You may know it as P2P. And if you've been here long enough, you may even know it as Jagger. All of those are the same thing. This is the CSU BY is really what this product is being branded. So it's a new procurement and payment system across the CSU, part of that multi-U, multi-campus collaboration initiative to really modernize and streamline our processes. So, right, it is that central, simple solution for us. I shouldn't call it simple. It is complex. There's a lot that goes into this one, but it is a single central system for all of that supports purchasing from end to end, right? So we're really trying to, as much as possible with this system, put everything into one umbrella. So when you're trying to purchase something, you don't have to go out to 6 different departments to get different forms and collect other things. This is the process. This is how approvals come in. This is everything you need to do. So from sourcing, requisitions, approvals, purchasing, and payment, all under one umbrella. So there's a lot that goes into this system. And replaces many manual steps. A lot of the steps that you had to take to go purchase something brings it into one system. So why? Why CSU BY? I mean, maybe the question is why not? Why haven't we done this years ago? But why this change, right? We're about streamlining processes, trying to consolidate procurement into that single system. Again, reducing inefficiencies, manual work, the things that give me heartburn, really trying to bring everything together under one umbrella. Increases visibility. I think one of my favorite things of being in part of the CSU BY kind of implementation project, everybody says there's no secrets in CSU BY. If it's in there, you've got visibility, you can see it. You can see what the status is. It's not a black box. There's a lot of visibility that you have into the system. Data quality, financial decision making, user experience. I mean, there's a lot of things that have gone into making this a really high quality product and something that's really going to help the CSU and CSUSB specifically in the future. It also addresses a lot of fragmented processes, a lot of manual tracking. I mean, I don't want to know how many spreadsheets there are that are tracking individual processes across campus. My guess is hundreds, right? It's going to help address a lot of that and that lack of visibility. And then ultimately, right, common processes across the system so that our campus isn't doing it differently than Fullerton or different than Humboldt. We're all doing it in the same system together. So really, really looking forward to this one. Go live February 2nd. If you look at your calendars, that is not this coming Monday, it is the Monday after that. So really you have about a week until this one goes live. There is a fully fleshed out website for this one, csusb.edu/procurement/CSUBuy. There's a lot of information on here, recordings, training materials, a lot that's there already. You can see communications and the like. We're also really entering into the heavy training session time. So, I mean, this week and really for the next maybe like 5 weeks, there's a lot of training sessions that are available for CSUSB or for CSUSBuy that are specific to your roles. So you'll know exactly what you need to do in order to navigate the new system, how to interact with it. There's also going to be live trainings and office hours and a ton of information because we know this is a big change that's going to affect everyone on campus about how we buy things. So we're really, really looking forward to this one, but we know that it creates a lot of work for you, and we want to make sure that you feel equipped and ready to enter into this one. Jay's here. They're going to be over in that corner talking about CSUSBuy. We'll talk about that full kind of breakout here in a second. Optimize. Optimize is a relatively new one for us as well. This one has had some phased go lives and has some more future phased go lives for us. But Optimize is a shared platform, right? Shared services, right? All part of that multi-U kind of tangentially related to that multi-U work that's built on ServiceNow. It's one of the big players in the service management space that provides a modern enterprise service management platform for the CSU. So we're one of the earlier campuses on this platform. We're probably going to see more of our sister campuses join in here soon. But it's really about providing that experience you may have had with Sharewell, right? Our previous enterprise service management platform, about automated forms and workflows, moving those from Sharewell into Optimize. And that includes a lot of different departments on campus already and more to come. So why Optimize? Why are we moving to Optimize? Well, I mean, this one's maybe a little bit of a forced change. Sharewell, our current platform, is end of life. December of this year, the platform will no longer be supported. We're not going to be able to use it anymore. So there's some urgency around getting these things off. It's also providing us an opportunity now to modernize some of the solutions, things that we've built kind of organically over the years in Sharewell, building it into ServiceNow in a more deliberate manner. So there's ongoing vendor support, modernization, also improves consistency, scalability, and ultimately long-term longevity for a system across the CSU. Benefits for CSUSB, improved usability. I mean, if you've seen Sharewell, it was a great modernization for us, but there's more modern solutions. This is one of those solutions for us. It is more mobile friendly. We're recognizing, especially from the students, a lot of people are using and interacting with these systems from a mobile device versus a desktop or a laptop computer. So that's there as well. And then ultimately just a more streamlined user-centric experience around how to submit and track requests. Like I said, some of these things have already been completed. Some of these things are in the future. So transitions that have already occurred include the guest parking permit form, the ITS request intake process, and the facility student assistant key renewal form. And ahead in the future, we're looking at the CIA, the Computerized Information Access Request form. Brandon, I don't know where Brandon went to. Oh, over there. It's like next week, right? Yeah. Next week, that one will be going live, and then we're moving into the space of moving some of the HR, class and comp, and student employment forms by July, and then accounts payable fall 2026. We don't have hard deadlines on those ones, but just know kind of some things have already transitioned, some things are transitioning into the future. So opportunities there. Optimize, Brandon's here. They'll be over in that corner to talk about Optimize during the breakouts. And then lastly, Teams Phone. Microsoft Teams Phone didn't fit on nicely in that little slide, so we're just calling it Teams Phone. Bruce is here to talk about Teams Phone. So what is it? So it's a modern phone system, right? Moving from our old legacy Cisco phones to Microsoft Teams phone, so that there's integration of our phone system and other collaboration tools all together in one platform. It's around that consistency of experience, so you're not using multiple tools to do this, but there's also opportunities for us for cost savings and some other things around how we do cost allocation and chargebacks for phone service on campus. So why Teams Phone? Why did we make this change? I mean, first and foremost, our old system was old. There were about 1,000 plus devices that were already out of support, and there was a steep increase in licensing costs that we were facing. 25%. That was, a lot of money that was going to be charged to CSUSB to remain with our old legacy phones. Not even talking about replacing them. So those old phones also increased the amount of risk the university was facing, as well as increasing our cost of maintenance. So a lot of opportunities there for streamlining, consolidation, and cost savings. We talked about multiple systems, right, causing inefficiencies both on the front end for you, but also on the back end for our technical teams to make maintenance and upgradability easier for us. So there's a lot that happened there. And then the existing chargeback model, maybe this was a little in the weeds, but it was inconsistent. So it would vary from month to month how much different departments and colleges were being charged for phone services. And so it was hard to budget. It was hard to see, what to expect. Eliminating that, moving to a more equitable model for that. And so addresses technical risk, rising costs, and fragmented communication. So what does this mean for you? This one went live in December, so we had a kind of a rolling go live of different platforms for this one. But again, one integrated communication platform within Microsoft Teams, the ability to make and receive calls from anywhere on any device without having to expose your personal cell phone numbers to the world. You can have your work phone number ring to your cell phone, fewer drop calls, easier transfers, and more collaboration across departments. And then right on their end, on the technical end, easier training, better ability to address support issues, and then that equitable chargeback model for the future. So Bruce is here to talk about Teams Phone. I think they're going to be over in this corner here. Okay. I'm moving pretty quickly just because I really want to get you into those breakouts as quickly as I can and then ultimately to lunch. But let's talk about the new CSUSB Change Initiatives webpage. We really had this vision as we started talking about change management, how to do this better as a campus rather than individuals' pockets of change management. We had this vision of a single webpage that you could go to review all the upcoming changes. Because, let's be honest, we have a lot of emails. We have a lot of emails, and it's very easy that things that get sent to campus, you have a folder, maybe you have a folder like me where all those things come into, it's easier for them to get buried and lost, and then you're not sure where those changes are. And the burden is really on you to know what changes were coming, which ones were going to affect you, when, and paying attention to all this disparate communication. So we said, what if we put together a single page that just brought all that information together for you? So we created this page, we created a universal timeline that just shows you, hey, here are these 4 changes, here's when they're impacting you, here's when these things are going live, rather than, again, putting that burden on you to try to figure that out for yourself. And then ultimately, giving you that ability to connect, to learn more, to dive deep, to go research the changes, the specific changes that are going to affect you, and be able to engage in that kind of dialogue process, that adaptation process that Jamie was talking about. So we're really excited for this one. Again, what's a presentation without a QR code or two? We have the brand new CSUSB Change Initiatives webpage. Thank you for the digital transformation team for really doing some heavy lifting here to actually make it look nice, because if it was up to me to make it look nice, it would not. But we put that up there, launched it just yesterday. So really excited for this one. Take a look. This is going to be a pretty live web page, right? We're talking about Optimize and Teams Phone. These things are happening now. Well, guess what? More changes are coming. There's other things that are going to be coming in the future. We'll retire those changes from being prominently displayed and replacing them with other changes that are going to be coming to campus. It's a single place for you to go at any point to see what changes are happening at CSUSB in the future. So we're really excited about this one. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think that was everything I wanted to say about that. I encourage you, bookmark it, visit frequently. It's a place to go so you don't have to manage your emails and making personal notes about what changes are coming. Okay, I don't see other phones out for the QR code. If you don't QR code this one, search Change Initiatives, CSUSB, you'll find it. All right, we are really going to move into the majority of the time for today's session in these breakout conversations. So I already told you about kind of the layout of the room, but really diving into smaller change conversations that you can have with those change managers. So we've specifically set up spaces around the room so you can dive in and have conversations, ask your questions, provide your feedback, make sure that your opinion and your voice is heard in those changes, and really give you an opportunity to learn more about what's coming, what are the future engagement opportunities, and really making sure that you can dive deep in those changes. So we've got the change managers kind of strategically positioned around the room. If you all want to maybe move into that space now by those chairs, and we can get into this. I will say, this is going to be an art more than a science. So you don't have to stick with one and stay there for the rest of the time. If you want to dive into one conversation, ask some questions, hear some other questions that are being asked, and you've got your fill, move to another one. And maybe if Jay's is very busy, everybody has CSUSB questions, go somewhere else and come back to Jay. Right? There's opportunities for us to just engage in this space, to network with each other, to ask questions, and ultimately get to a place where you can have your questions answered. And then ultimately, right, you can see that food is being set up now. When that's done, when that's ready, we'll let you know from here that lunch is ready. We encourage you to stay, have continued conversations as we enjoy a meal over lunch, and really just get to engage in some of these change conversations. Okay, I've created a handy dandy map that I will leave up for you all. So it is from, if you're facing this screen, if you're facing one of those screens, it may be a little bit more confusing to see, but if you're facing this screen, you'll be able to see where those changes are. And so you can kind of bounce around between them. So change managers, if you want to go into your areas now, we will just really dedicate the rest of this time for those breakout conversations. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.